Hey there, and welcome to the Motivation and Success Podcast Show. I'm so glad you joined us. My name is Tom Corson-Knowles, and today on the show we have an incredible guest for you. His name is Olli Hille, and he's an international best-selling author. His first book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, was an Amazon #1 bestseller within just 2 weeks of its release. In May 2012, it was the 57th most popular book on Amazon out of over 1 million books. Oli Hille is in discussions currently with an Academy Award-nominated Hollywood director on the screenplay of his science fiction novel, The Simulant Game, which is due out in early 2013. And today on the show, I asked Oli about his success as an author and his basically top marketing tips, his top tips for new authors. How do you become a best-selling author, and how do you self-publish, and all the other challenges that I know if you're an author like me that you struggled with or are currently struggling with. So it's going to be an incredible interview. Make sure you get out your notes, get your journal, take great notes, and enjoy. Well, Oli, thanks so much for being with us today on the Motivation and Success Podcast Show. Tell us about your background and how did you get started as an author?
Wow, Tom, that's an interesting question. I started writing poetry when I was at primary school, and I always loved writing, even from an early age. So then started writing fiction, wrote mainly sort of fiction, and I just wrote for years and years, and getting ahead of myself a little bit, I never had a place that I could get my stuff easily to, because as you know, if you go with the traditional publishing model, you've got to finish your book, you've got to get it edited, then you've got to get a literary agent, and you've got to put it in front of publishing houses, and even then, even if it all goes well, even if you get accepted, you've got an 18-month lead time before it gets to where it gets to. And then, even if all that happens, the author gets about $2 a copy. So I actually never wanted to go down that route. So I just kept writing, and then, again, I'm getting ahead of myself. But then when Amazon Kindle came along and suddenly made it easy for me to get my stuff up there, and then the market could choose whether they like my stuff or not, rather than 5 different people on the way to getting it published.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, that's the same thing with me. I looked at the traditional publishing route and I was like, well, do I really want to do all that, or and so I actually started writing my first book when I was 19, and took me 6 years until I realized, hey, I can just publish it myself on Amazon. 5 minutes later, it was up. It's like so easy now. So, yeah. But even though it's so easy to publish a book now, especially with Amazon Kindle, there's a lot of competition out there. So how do you make your books stand out? What do you do to market your books?
Okay, well, there's 2 questions there, actually. What do you do to make your book stand out, and what do you do to market? So
right.
Let me take those one at a time. The first thing, as an author, and I talk to a lot of authors because I'm the administrator of one of the largest Amazon Kindle, if not the largest Amazon Kindle Facebook groups on Facebook. And I've also written a book for authors, how to become an Amazon #1 best-selling author and make money. So because of that, I get a lot of people emailing me and Facebooking me, and I talk to new authors and want-to-be authors all the time. And the first thing is that you have to create an excellent product. Your book has to be great. And the thing is, under the old model, one of the good things about the old model was that you did actually have 4 or 5 people looking at your book, including your editor and the person who was going to publish it or whatever. And if it was rubbish, then it would get thrown out. Whereas if you're doing your own thing and it's rubbish, it doesn't get thrown out, it gets thrown off on Amazon. And a handful of people will read it, they'll give you a bad review, and it'll never be seen again. So the first thing is, write an excellent book, and then even when you think it's excellent, make sure 3 or 4 other people read it, get it professionally edited, make sure everything is as perfect as you can make it in terms of the syntax and the grammar and the formatting, and what I say to people, I learned this from Stephen King, is when you've finished your book, put it in a cupboard somewhere and don't look at it for 2 weeks, then get it out and read it cover to cover, and then after you've given it that downtime, then you can then you can start rewriting it. And as you probably know, some of the best authors in the world rewrite their books up to 8 times. Well, if you're an Amazon author, you think, oh, I've finished my book, yay, it's all done, and you go to put it up. Well, actually, if you'd sat back and thought about it and rewrote it and did some more research and whatever, it could be so much better. So that's a real issue for new authors. Make sure what you get up there is fantastic. Then, the other key thing is, if you're going to put a book up on Amazon, there's one thing that sells books on Amazon, well, there's a few things, but one main thing, and that's the cover. And how many times do you go to Amazon Kindle and you see what looks from a mile off like a homemade cover, and you don't even bother clicking on the book? I think it only cost me $95 to get my cover made. Even then, it took me about 2 months, because I went back to friends, I sent emails out to like 100 people, here are my 5 different covers, what do you think? I put them on Facebook. I went to the book, I use killercovers.com, they're the best in my opinion. Went back to them, they gave me an idea, I said no, I didn't like it. Finally, after 2 months, I got my cover right. And again, people go to Photoshop and they go, here's my cover, 5 minutes later, and it's dreadful. No wonder nobody buys their book. Mm-hmm. So that is, the first point, get an excellent book. And the second point is, we are so blessed now with the internet. No matter what your niche is, you will find the people who love your book, because 30 years ago you couldn't find people in your niche because you'd have to advertise in newspapers. There was no way to find them. If there was somebody on the other side of the world who loved the things you loved, how could you ever get hold of them? Well, now with the internet you can. You build your website, you connect with people on social media, and you find people. It doesn't matter if what you're interested in is Japanese stamps from the 1950s, you'll find somebody in your niche. So what I did is I used social media and I connected with people who are interested in the kind of things that I'm interested in. The book that got to #1 on Amazon is called Creating the Perfect Lifestyle. It's a book on lifestyle, self-help and motivation and success and achievement and all of those things. And so I started connecting with people who wanted the same kind of things I wanted. And so I've immediately got an audience for my book. And so right now I have over 30,000, that's 30,000 Twitter followers. I've got thousands of Facebook friends. Many of my blogs get over 100 likes. One of my blogs recently got over 1,000 likes. So, I've built up a following and a connection, and it's a two-way thing. It's certainly not one way. I give, give and take. And so when you get all that happening and you've got an excellent product, well, suddenly you're in a position where your book can do well.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
So there you go.
Awesome. Well, one of the things I forgot to ask you is, tell us and the audience listening, what kind of books do you write? Do you only write nonfiction, or do you write fiction as well?
No, I write nonfiction and fiction. In fact, I started really doing fiction, and the first real project I got into was my science fiction novel called The Simulant Game, which isn't actually out yet, believe it or not. I started it, embarrassingly, like about 17 years ago. And the latest on that is that I've written the screenplay of the novel. I'm working with an Academy-nominated Hollywood director who's read the screenplay, sent it back to me to make changes. So when I make changes and he's happy with the screenplay, then I'm going to go back and change the novel, obviously, because it's got to line up with the screenplay. Obviously, the idea is that it'll get made into a movie, and then the book will obviously be that much more successful. So that's one of my main projects. In terms of on Amazon, I've got 12 books on Amazon. All of them are non-fiction, except one book, which is science fiction short stories. There's 4 short stories and the intro chapter of my novel. That's 99 cents, by the way. So if anyone's interested in that, they can go to Amazon and grab that. And I've got a number of other projects I'm working on, as I suppose all authors do. But I do have a passion for fiction, and I really want my novel to be great. And I'm certainly connecting with people who are in that space, so that so it does take off when I'm ready to publish it. But having said that, the most success I've had has been with my non-fiction book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, and it is what it is. As an author, you try and create something that you love, and if other people love it, then it's a blessing and it's great.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Well, you're one of the few authors that I've talked to that actually does write both fiction and non-fiction. So, have you noticed any big differences between how you need to market those two kinds of books?
Not really. To be honest, I don't think there is much difference. The whole point about finding your niche audience, connecting with those people, and then when you've done that and you go, oh, by the way, I've written a book, do you want to read it? Then it's a far easier thing to say than to go in cold. So I think connecting with the right people, having a good approach in terms of social media, making sure the book is great. To be honest, I don't think there's any difference in terms of marketing between the two. Obviously, you have different groups that you're connecting with, but in terms of overall marketing, my feeling is there's no difference.
Gotcha. Now, when you talk about doing all the work on social media and blogging that you do, are you mostly doing your own personal brand as your name, or are you marketing as the different separate titles that you have?
Yeah, well, my name is my main brand. So what often happens is people read one of my books and they enjoy it so much they then go and buy 3 or 4 of my other books, and I frequently hear that. So certainly my own name is my key brand, and that's certainly something that I'm upfront about. But of course, when you're going and talking to somebody about a project, they're not interested in Oli Hille as a brand. They're interested in what will this book do for me? Will I, for fiction, will I be entertained? Will I love it? Will I enjoy curled up by the fire reading it? And with non-fiction, the type of non-fiction I write, the question is, am I going to be motivated? Am I going to be able to make life changes that's going to make my life significantly better than it is today? And so in terms of when I'm out there talking about stuff, the brand Oli Hille is important, but it's really in the background. I hope people will remember the name, because then if they like what I'm doing, they'll go and search me up on Amazon and find my stuff. But really, I'm trying to meet somebody's need, and so therefore I have to be talking about the project.
Gotcha. Well, but I mean, just in terms of social media and blogging, I mean, do you have a separate blog and separate social media account for every book that you have, or you just have your one main blog and your one main social media accounts where you do everything?
So I have one main blog for all my non-fiction stuff, because all of my non-fiction generally is around that self-help, motivation, success theme. And then I have a totally separate website and a separate blog for my fiction stuff. And then I also have a totally separate website and totally separate blog for my trading stuff. So I trade the financial markets. That's one of the ways I earn my income. I've written a short book on that. I'm working on a much bigger book, and that's a very tight niche and a very different niche to the self-help niche. And so for them, it's a completely separate project and a completely separate website, and there's very little crossover between the two. So they are separate.
Gotcha. Awesome. And I know you've got so many books out, 12 now that you said on Amazon. How do you kind of manage all those together? I mean, in terms of marketing, you can't market all of your books at the same time. So how do you know which books to focus on for marketing and which books to just kind of let roll?
Well, that's the beauty of Amazon, actually, because Amazon Kindle opened me up to the world of however many tens or hundreds of millions of people they've got on their books. And so in terms of putting books up on Amazon, once they're up there and, I've set the book up with the right categories and the right keywords and all of that kind of thing, which is, something you probably talk about in your book, and I certainly do in my book for authors. Once I do that, then they take care of themselves, and basically, Amazon's system puts those books in front of people, and that's all I need to do in terms of that. So in terms of how do I manage my marketing time, that really is most likely the latest project I'm working on. So, for example, my book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, which got to #1 on Amazon in the week that I launched it last November, and incidentally has been the #1 lifestyle book on Amazon for 52 consecutive weeks. So if you go to Amazon, type in lifestyle, the one word lifestyle, you'll see my book will come up #1, has done every week for the last 52 weeks. So that's been my most successful book, but it's just been translated into Spanish, and the Spanish ebook is coming out next week. So next week is all about going to be focusing my marketing on the new thing, which is my Spanish version. 2.5 weeks ago, the hard copy of my book, which I'm holding in my hand, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle, that came out for the first time in hard copy. So 3 weeks ago, that was my focus, to tell everybody about the hard copy. So, and then, early next year, my novel is going to come out as an ebook, firstly, and then as a paperback book. And so when it comes out as an ebook, my marketing effort is going to be talking to people about the science fiction novel ebook. And then when it comes out as a hard copy, that'll be my marketing effort. So it's really just about what's working the best and what's newest, what's the new thing, because everyone wants to hear about the new thing.
Exactly. Everyone wants something new, right? Totally.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, tell us about some of the mistakes you made, because I know we can learn both from our successes and our mistakes. So what are some of the biggest mistakes you feel like you've made as an author that other authors just starting out could really learn from?
Okay. I'll tell you a really big mistake I made. And I think I'm right in saying a lot of authors make this mistake as well. And that is, as soon as I finished my book, I've been writing it, it took me 7 years to write my lifestyle book, and not full-time, obviously, that was part-time, but the last 6 months I really knuckled down and worked hard at it, and many hours a day and whatever. As soon as it was finished, of course, I was really excited about it, and I thought everybody in the world would love to read my book. And so when I started out on social media, I just had like a scattergun approach, like a shotgun approach. I'd approach anybody, and I thought, everybody should be as excited about my book as I am. And, I got a rude shock. That actually isn't the case. And even now it isn't the case, even though it's very popular and lots of people love it. If I go and talk to somebody whose thing is romantic fiction, they're actually not interested in my lifestyle book. Probably not. A small percentage of them will be. So the big mistake I made was going, everyone, here's my book. When I started going, hold on, where is my niche market? Oh, it's the self-help market. It's those people who are interested in life change and motivation and making their life better. As soon as I started connecting with those people, I got a totally different response. I got, oh man, I can't wait for your book to come out. Oh, I'm so excited for you, and encouragement and all of these kind of things. So that's a big mistake that I made. And I haven't really made this mistake, as I said, but I think a lot of authors still, to this day, make the mistake of thinking that going the traditional publishing route is the only one that has real kudos, and that's the only one you should focus on. And I was reading recently that from the beginning of book writing until 1850, there was no publishing industry at all. And so anybody who's ever published a book prior to 1850 were always self-published. So when you think about that, it's only about a 150-year period in the history of literature where there's been a publishing industry. So authors should never get into that mindset of, self-publishing is second-rate or whatever. Self-publishing is actually honourable and time-worn and traditional. And not only that, but it's absolutely the best and easiest and most effective and becoming the most lucrative way to publish. Like I said earlier, if I sell a book in bookstores and I go for a traditional publisher, I get around about $2 every time I sell a book. That's on a $30 book. The author gets $2 because the printer gets some, the publisher gets some, the cover producer gets some, the publicist gets some, everybody takes their cut. The poor little authors are left with $2 out of 30. Well, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle as an ebook is $4.97. Well, I get 70% of that. So I'm already ahead of all of those people who've got their books in bookshops. This book is a bit different because I published it myself and I control the printing. The difference between the printing and what I sell to the bookstores, I keep that as well. So it's multiple times more than that $2 a copy. So again, if the author's got the control, which they finally now we can, we're the ones who make the money.
Absolutely. Yeah, the royalties are so much better now with ebooks that, I've considered publishing many of my books as a paperback, but it's almost not even worth the time and effort because it's so much easier to do the ebook and the royalties are so much higher.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Oli, if you had to start all over again, as a brand new author, start your career all over again, how would you go about it? What would you first do starting your career off brand new, knowing everything you know now?
That's a good question. I tell you what I'd do. and this is something I've learned from a lot of great writers, I would discipline myself to write for at least an hour every day. And if you do that, if you write for an hour a day, you get about 2 books done in a year in terms of, raw books. Maybe they're not edited and proofed and rewritten or whatever. But if you concentrate on your writing, even if you're not that good, and many people, just about everybody wants to write a book, and most people, including me when they start out, are not very good at writing, even though, I was pretty good at English at school and whatever. You've got to do something for a long time before you get good at it. And just simply doing it, one, you're creating a body of work which you can later go back and correct, and 2, you're getting better at it, and you've got something to put in front of somebody and go, I've written this short story, I've written this short novel, I've written this piece of work, what do you think? And maybe not your best friend, maybe somebody who's a little bit distant, so they can say, well, actually, the first half was okay, and then I got completely lost, or chapter 3 is just awful, or, go back to the drawing board, or occasionally, this is actually really good, and where's the next chapter? I can't wait to read more. So if I was going right back to scratch, I'd discipline myself to write every single day and make it a real focus.
Absolutely. That's brilliant advice, and I think it's so true that in any career, but especially in writing, you have to be disciplined. And it's the people that put out multiple books and multiple titles, and they're not afraid to make mistakes, and not afraid to write, quote-unquote, a bad book, because they know that the work is going to get better and better and better as they go. So that's why it's so key to just keep writing no matter what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Oli, thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know you shared some amazing tips and strategies that are going to help other authors succeed, and I really appreciate that. But before you go, tell us more about you and the work that you're doing, and where people can find out about you online.
Yeah, sure. So obviously, we've talked about the fact that I'm an author. That's what I spend an awful lot of my time doing. I've got 12 books on Amazon. I would encourage people to grab a copy of my book, Creating the Perfect Lifestyle. It's got 104 5-star reviews on Amazon, and there's only about less than 1 in 1,000 books on Amazon have more than 100 5-star reviews. So, I've been blessed to have tons of people read the book and love it, thousands, tens of thousands. And in that book, actually, there's a whole chapter called The Mother of Creativity. And it talks about my journey as an author, and especially about the interesting journey I had when the director contacted me about the screenplay of a novel and gave me a very tight time frame, literally like 2 weeks. And I hadn't even finished the novel. So I had to finish the novel and learn how to write a screenplay and buy the software and do everything. I basically wrote for 11 hours a day for 15 days in a row, which if you've ever done any writing, I thought more than 4 hours a day was impossible.
Yeah.
I thought more than 2 hours a day was just like, woohoo, I'm incredible, I've done 2 hours a day. Well, wait till you try 11 hours a day for 15 days in a row to meet a deadline. That really opened my eyes as to how blind I was before and how lazy I was before. And I could really kick some butt. And the amazing thing is, and I talk about that in the chapter of that book actually, the amazing thing is that I went to a new plane of creativity and energy and enthusiasm that I never imagined possible. It wasn't like I was exhausted and just, walked around like a zombie. I was on fire. So, jump onto Amazon and grab that. If you want to have a look at my books, I've done something pretty cool, which I talk about in my book for authors, but this is kind of cool for any author. Go to amazon.com/author/1, as in the number 1. So author, amazon.com/author/1. See what happens.
All right, I'll do that right after we get off this interview. Awesome.
You can see who's the number 1 author on Amazon.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you, Oli, so much. I really appreciate it, and I know it's going to help a lot of people, so thank you so much for spending your time with us.
Nice talking to you, Tom. All the best with your writing project.
All right, thank you. Likewise. Hey there, it's Tom Corson-Knowles again. I hope you loved the show today with Oli Hille. Hope you got some really valuable information out of that. Hope you took some great notes, and I hope you will go out there and apply this information for your own books, for your own business. I want you to go out there and become a best-selling author. And if you apply this information and it really works well for you, please let us know. Post a comment under this video. Let us know on the blog. We want to hear your success stories. So if you've had incredible increases in your book sales, we want to hear about it. We want to feature you on our next show. So I'm wishing you the absolute best of success, and remember to come check out my new book, The Kindle Publishing Bible, now available on Amazon. All right, have an incredible day, and we'll see you next week where we're interviewing another incredible best-selling author. Okay, talk to you soon. Take care.